So we finna get into these videos. I just wanted to fresh off of a Michigan Natty championship. I'm just saying. I'm not that hip. I heard my son say Natty, and I'm just saying it because I heard him say it. So, and I got another one. Let's get into these stories for real. Hey, I am Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year to everybody. Fresh off of this Michigan win, I just wanted to make sure I made a promise myself to stay consistent with videos. So here I am late at night recording a video. So remember I was talking about last year, doing stories. And so this one, we chopped it up in Bible study a few weeks ago. And we were talking about the difference between being a follower of Christ versus being a fan of Christ. I'm a huge Michigan fan. I love sports, football. And so when the Lord brought this to me during Bible study, it was interesting because I wasn't sure. I didn't get it at first, I guess. But as you read, you can kind of see in John 6, just reading from 1 all the way to the end of 71, you can see that these people that were following him were more fans than true followers. Like, it wasn't a faith thing. It was a fan thing. Like, they were just kind of hyped by him. They were, oh, he did something for us. He made, he fed us. Then they tracked him down. And then they were kind of believing, but not really. Then when he started talking in a way that I guess was out of, sad for them, left side for them, it was more, that's when their true colors came out. And that's usually how it works, right? Like, people like you as long as you talk and they talk, as long as you're appealing to, what they are comfortable with, what they think is okay. But the moment Jesus started talking about drink my blood and eat my body as bread, and he's the bread of life, and he's the Son of God, they literally just turned on him. And I found it interesting because we found out in our Bible study group, because it said many of his disciples turned back and no longer walk with him in John 6:66. And so I'm like, wait a minute. He only called 12. So who are the other disciples? And so when you look up the word in the lexicon, it tells you the disciples were not, these disciples that walked away weren't the 12 that he called. These were just pupils or students or, basically just following Christ. They had attached themselves to Christ. And think about it. He was healing people. He fed, he did perform a miracle by feeding 5,000 plus people. So they didn't have an intimate belief in him. And also you got to remember that these are the same people who, were like, ain't he from Nazareth? Ain't that, so it's not far reaching to get why they were just his fans and not his followers, because they couldn't stick with the hard things. They only wanted the feel good stuff. They didn't want the hard truth. They didn't want that line in the sand kind of thing where you have to decide which team you on. You know what I mean? As long as he was doing something that everybody was cool with, they like, rah, Jesus, yeah, we're with Jesus. We're following, we're his crew. And the moment he started talking about some real deep stuff, some stuff that was uncommon, unfamiliar at that time, they turned their backs on him. And then he asked the 12, you want to go away too? And Peter like, where can we go? You know what I'm saying? But this is a good practical practice for us, because we got to make sure we're not fans. And we can't just want the blessings and the grace and the we can't just have all the feel good stuff. When we're truly a follower of Christ, that means we're denying ourselves. That means that we are laying down our lives for him. That means we are becoming imitators of Christ and living in his likeness, We struggle with different things that they struggled with back in the day because they grew up with him. They watched him grow up. So they didn't have a problem with his humanity side. They saw that part too much where it blinded them to his deity. Whereas we, on the other hand, we, are very familiar with the deity of Christ, but not the humanity side of it. He was the oldest of a lot of brothers and sisters. He was the oldest in his family. He had brothers who didn't believe him. When he was going to the festival of the feast of the booths, they literally were like, they didn't believe who he was, because again, they saw him grow up. So just imagine your older brother. It's like, I'm the Christ. And who knows what was going on in their household, because we don't know how Mary treated him. You know what I mean? We don't know if she gave him any special treatment. We don't know. But we struggle with the humanity of Christ, which is the part that we should be relating to the most, because it's in that image that we're trying to imitate. That it's in that image that we're trying to live out. That's the image that is shaping, we're supposed to be shaped by in our heart and in the renewing and transforming of our mind. So we have to relate to the humanity of Christ and make sure that when we're following him, we're doing it the way he followed God the Father. Because every time he wanted to, well, not every time, but the time when he wanted to take this cup, he said, no, not my will, your will be done. And throughout his whole ministry, his time, like everything was, I'm about my Father's business. My Father told, I do what my Father say. I do what I see my Father do. I say what I hear my Father say. So it's like we have to imitate God in that way. Otherwise, we're just a fan. We're just a fan of God, and we just want what he can give us. And that's the extent of it. But no, a true follower is obedient. We're going to yield our will to his. And we're going to say yes and surrender our heart. And we're going to lay open and bare those things that are not like him so that he can start the transforming work. But as long as we're just wanting all of the love and the grace and the blessings and all of that, and none of the discipline, none of his authority, none of, the things that God say are going to be hard, like denying yourself, deny your mother, your father, like nothing prioritizes me. Nothing. So that means our entertainment, what we listen to, where we go, what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, what we're doing in our secret lives, all of those things have to be in step with what the likeness of Christ looks like. And I've said this before, following Christ looks like something. It does. And we see a lot of foolery going on right now. A lot of people being exposed, and we don't know what's really going on outside of what we actually saw with our eyes. But outside of that, we don't know what's really going on. But there's some type of thing happening where people are being exposed. People are being exposed. And so we have to expose ourselves before the Lord and say, God, anything that's in me that's not like you, take that out of me so that I can walk worthy of the call on my life, so that I can walk worthy of me being an imitator of Christ. And so we have to make sure that we are not just fans of Jesus like these disciples were. They just sat under him and they attached themselves to something that was, blessing people and looked nice. And then the moment Jesus started getting a little deeper and he didn't sit well with everybody, they backed off. They said it's a hard saying, And so, again, that is what separates us, because I don't want to be in that Lord line. I don't want to be in that line where he's like, get away from me. Your heart is far from me. Yeah, you prophesied and you did this and you did that, but your heart, because see, those private areas, he like, that's far from me. Out of your mouth, you're saying one thing, but your heart is something different. And he's a heart God. That's what he looks for. He's looking at our hearts, the intent, the motivation, the attitude. All those things are our heart. Our heart matters. So we got to really make sure that as we go forward, that we are truly followers of Christ and not just his fans, because it makes a difference. A fan can't go deep. You know what I'm saying? A fan can only go as far as the excitement goes. It can only go to that level of intimacy. Like, you know, as long as I'm feeling good and I'm hyped and, you know, you giving me what I need. But the moment, you know, correction comes in, discipline, whatever, that's when you know if you truly a follower of Christ, because you yield and surrender to his way and not your own. And that's the difference. And so don't be in that Lord line. Nah, fam, you don't have to. So don't be a fan only, be a follower. So that's all I got for this week. I'll see you guys next time. And I don't want to make no promises, but I'm leaning heavily towards Sunday being my upload day. I said like 3 different days, but it, you know, my life has shifted since I've, you know, done with school. So I got a little bit more flexibility. Enjoy the rest of your week and be a follower, not a fan. See you later. Take care of yourselves.